Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today here on the Meg Moonbeam and Redpill Rooster YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. Thanks again for joining us in week 8 of the Diddy trial. We are finally at the finish line here. And before we get started today, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. I'm still getting used to this here over on my end. And I just want to start off by saying, please remember to go and check out my book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist. Don't forget to take your red pills. And I just want to give a quick shout out to this audience who has been very supportive actually over the last 8 weeks of this trial. And I book sales have been through the roof. So thank you all. I know that you guys have played a big part in this. And I just want to thank you on behalf of myself and also on behalf of the Moving Beyond Trauma Project, who we are donating half of the proceeds of the book here. So not only is this a great opportunity for you guys to share the roadmap that all of us are on here in terms of following the conspiracies and that sort of thing that many of us have been following for a long time and many other people are just starting to wake up to. But this also gives you guys a great opportunity to donate to something that is helping people move beyond the trauma of being victims in these terrible trafficking scenarios. So thank you all. And of course, remember to go and check out Meg's page and check out what she's doing with her astrology. Go and book a reading, whether it is your astro chart, your birth reading, or just a solar return. She does the absolute best readings when it comes to astrology, and it's going to provide you guys with a lot of insight as to what is going on in your personal life and what are some of the things that are influencing you personally. But so again, today, Meg is not here with us. She is finishing up her retreat. She'll be back with you all, I believe, next week. So I'm sure you're all excited to see that. But I want to get started and get things kicked off with a video here today of, let me go ahead and share this screen again. Still figuring this thing out. But I want to start with this little video here by Nancy Grace, where she posted a phone call by Diddy. So let me go ahead and press play on this. This is about 30 seconds.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know. You think you silent treating me, and you think I'm gonna be nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence, and ain't nobody threatening you. And I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you can be mad. I can have a spat. We can have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and shit like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat. I'm just being clear. I can't do this with you every time you get upset.
Fast teams need.
We'll go ahead and stop that there. But a very damning voicemail that he left there, where he basically just said, "Hey, this is a job, right? You need to do your job. I'm on my job. You've got to do your job." So that certainly sounds like coercion. It certainly sounds like they've got him nailed down with that type of damning voice messages. But Lauren Conlon, shout out to her. She has been doing a phenomenal job just throughout this entire trial. Guys, this is not easy, right? Talking about this stuff day in and day out, listening to this testimony. I mean, it's not easy just to, have an hour-long-ish discussion here with you guys every single week in regard to these deep and heavy matters. And Lauren, she's been a trooper, and she has really done a phenomenal job in sharing the information that she's getting inside the courtroom. And here she recaps this. We're not going to listen to the whole thing. It's 10 minutes long, but I think the beginning of this is very telling in terms of how the closing statements went.
A little bit over, but I want to go into a little more detail. I know I gave a little bit of detail this morning, but I want to elaborate on some things just from the morning. So Attorney Slavic, she went over the 5 counts: the RICO, the 2 counts of sex trafficking, and the 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. And she actually did a lot of overlap with the RICO, the sex trafficking, and the transportation to engage as it points to RICO under the predicate acts. So I know that sounds confusing, but what I'm trying to explain is she listed a bunch of predicate acts under RICO, which I read earlier and I will read again. And then she tied the separate charges to those acts as well, but made sure to clarify that, these are not just under RICO, these are also separate. So just to go back to that, it was the crimes under RICO. And again, one of the predicates for that is that the defendant has to act knowingly. And that is drug distribution, kidnapping, arson, bribery, sex trafficking, interstate commerce, and forced labor, and witness tampering. And again, you only need to find the defendant guilty of 2 of those predicate acts to get a guilty RICO verdict. So she brought up the mafia, and she said, you've heard about racketeering because of the mafia, but in this case, it's simple. It's when someone commits a crime with an enterprise and an enterprise that works for them, and this makes them more dangerous. And she actually said that the enterprise doesn't always have to want to do these crimes. They don't always have to know about these crimes. But if they are partaking and doing all this, then that is an enterprise. So, and also the 4 elements with RICO she talked about is conspiracy or agreement to participate in the enterprise, the fact that it affected interstate commerce, and they knowingly became a member of this conspiracy, and that the agreed members of the conspiracy would commit criminal acts. Let's see. She called Diddy's employees loyal lieutenants and also foot soldiers. She showed us pictures of the security team, of Roger Bonds, D-Rock, Rube. Those are like the main guys, and Fahim. And then she showed us all of the assistants throughout the years. So, and these were his loyal foot soldiers. And I think I talked about the distribution of drugs this morning, and how she made sure to say, yeah, it doesn't matter the amount. It doesn't matter if he sold them or paid for them, or sold them or, made people pay for them. If he distributed them, which he did to Cassie and Jane and some of the assistants, this counts as distribution. And, we have satisfied we have satisfied this charge because he did. And
all right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there, because I want to come back and I want to ask, I want to go to the cards here and ask, there's been a lot of hoopla, I'll use the term, about his loyal lieutenants, about his minions. Let's go ahead and ask the cards if these people actually knew that they were part of committing crimes. So at the end of the day, like she said, it doesn't matter whether or not they knew that they were part of committing crimes. They helped facilitate committing crimes. But just for the sake of fulfilling some curiosity here, let's go ahead and ask the cards if at least some of these lieutenants, as they put it, knew that they were part of committing crimes. I'm going to go ahead and pull 3 cards. Okay. We got the victory card right out of the gate, the 6 of Wands. Okay. So right out of the gate, we got the 6 of Wands. So I'm going to start by saying this is a soft yes. They knew, obviously, when drugs are involved, you know that you're committing a crime. You know that you are doing something that is against the law, so to speak. Um, but then we also got the sort of the war card in reverse. Whoops, dropped it. 1 second here. So the 5 of Swords, this is like a strategy card. This is like being in the midst of battle. But when we're saying that it's in reverse, we could say there's a little bit of fog of war here, a little murky, some murky waters. So maybe they didn't really know the extent to how deep they were actually going in terms of being a part of a criminal enterprise. They may not have known, but they are still guilty. They were in fact a part of the battle. And then here we have the 10 of Cups. So we are, to me, this indicates that we're at the finish line here. This card can also represent a facade, right? These people look very happy. Everything looks great on the surface, but when it's badly aspected, like being next to the 5 of Swords there, we could go ahead and say, well, they knew to some degree, and they were just blissfully acting like, oh, everything is fine, right? They're sort of pretending that things are fine. And so I'm going to say, yes, they did know that they were actually committing a crime to some degree, especially again when we're talking about drugs. But maybe once we get into the finer, more nuanced things of, coercing somebody into sexual acts and that sort of thing, maybe they just were ignorant to the law, right? Maybe they didn't know that they were committing a crime by, helping clean up the hotel rooms after the freak offs and that sort of thing. But regardless, they are still culpable and guilty. And if I were them, I would be very nervous right now in terms of how this trial shakes out for Diddy. But tomorrow, the judge is going to read the charges and instructions, and then the jury is going to begin deliberations. And as you guys already know, the prosecution took 6 to 7 weeks to state their case, and the defense took 30 minutes. And Diddy did not take the stand, as we said here a few weeks ago on the show. But something else came up that I thought was very interesting. I'm going to share a couple of things with you guys today that I found today that I thought were really interesting. I'm going to start with this picture right here. Let me share this entire screen. And I don't need any audio for this, but this is essentially the form that the government filed to the courthouse, stating that the government was no longer going to be pursuing the charges of kidnapping under government, kidnapping under both California and New York law, attempted arson under California law, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking. The government is no longer planning to proceed on these theories of liability, so the instructions are no longer necessary. And I thought that was kind of odd. Why did they decide to essentially take these off the docket? Why did they decide to remove these? So let's go ahead. And again, I want to ask the cards. Let me go ahead and stop sharing this screen. Let's go ahead and ask the cards. Why did the government take those charges off the docket? Why did they essentially decide to not pursue that? Did they just not think that they could get him on it? Was it muddying the waters, or did Diddy squeal on somebody, right? Did he roll over on somebody, and thus they decided, all right, we'll go ahead and we'll drop these 3 charges here. Let's go ahead and ask the cards. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yes. So right out of the gate, we have the Ace of Cups, followed by the Ace of Pentacles, followed by the 6 of Cups. So I'm going with Diddy squealed. He's got so much information, right? And it's all very emotional. This is also like can be a creative card when we're talking about waters. So there is so much information that this guy has that he made some sort of backdoor deal to actually give up some names in order to in order for them to essentially drop these three charges again, followed by the Ace of Pentacles, right? Perhaps this has to do with money. Perhaps there is something involved where Diddy actually has the ability to point to people through financial records, that sort of thing. And then the Six of Cups. I mean, I love this card. And this is to me, this is like somebody giving a gift to somebody else, right? So Diddy was like giving them the gift of, okay, then there might even be 6 people, right? Or 6 names that he gave them. So I'm what I think is that based on what the cards are telling us here, that they dropped those charges because Diddy moved his mouth. So as the saying goes, loose lips sink ships. I want to go ahead and share this next piece of information with you that I thought, you know what, before I do that, let's continue on one moment, and I want to hop back over here to X just to show you guys sort of taking the temperature of the room here, right? And please, I see that we've got Sister Nobody here. She says, "Did he squeal?" Yes, he did. Yes, I would totally agree with that, Sister Nobody. And yeah, I want to go ahead. I want to share this with you. So I again, for the sake of taking the temperature of the room, gosh, just having such a hard time. Here we go. Sharing this in these. There we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. So let me pull up this X. There we are. And for the sake of sort of taking the temperature in the room here, right? And can you guys all see this, by the way? I think I'm sharing it, but just confirm with me if you're seeing that on your end. But what we're seeing here is that people definitely think that Diddy's guilty. So here we have this first tweet. I think Diddy trial will end in a not guilty verdict, and he is guilty. He turned over someone else, and they have another case. That was a hashtag Freemason humiliation ritual because he sued the parent company of Ciroc. So a little bit of conspiracy theory for you guys there. Then we've got Dana here that says the prosecutors failed to prove their case. Diddy isn't innocent, but the testimony given only proved that he's an abusive, sick freak. I said this during the ex-girlfriend's testimony. Either the prosecutors intentionally threw the case or they are some piss poor prosecutors. So hopes are not high on many fronts by people. I'm going to skip over that because I'm going to show you guys that in a moment. But this person here, Kim Lappin, says, I've been following the Diddy trial in depth since day one of the jury selection, and whatever the outcome may be, the thing I find extremely difficult to understand is why the children haven't been mentioned once. Not once has the prosecution mentioned the minors. Let that sink in. I think that is very telling. I mean, guilty in the eyes of the public, right? Thanks everybody for letting me know that you can see that. Guilty in the eyes of the public here, right? But people do not seem to have high hopes that he's going to go down for this. So, I'm kind of feeling the same way. I gotta be honest. I think he's guilty. I'm going to share a few things here with you guys that I think are pretty cool and interesting. But something that came into my purview today here, let me pull this up, was I found this website called the Diddy Docket. and you guys are going to be astounded. So check this out. DIDDYdocket.com. Okay. This is an entire website dedicated to all of the cases that Sean Combs is facing. So we have USA versus Sean Combs. And what's pretty awesome about this is that you can come in here, you can check the court calendar, review the case filings, review the case documents. Let me see here. I know that I found. All right. So this is number 209. I want to go all the way down here to the end because this is where they actually show what the jury is going to be looking at. Not 421 verdict sheet. So they got at least a couple of these. Okay. So this is what the verdict sheet is going to look like for the jury. Okay. Lots of things here for them to review and determine if he's guilty, if he's not guilty, if they did find him guilty, what are they essentially saying is proven and not proven here. You guys can come and check this out in your own time. But, let's just take a look at this for a moment. Racketeering conspiracy. This is what the jury is going to see tomorrow. Count one. How do you find the defendant, Sean Combs, with respect to count one? Guilty or not guilty? A, if you found the defendant guilty of count one, then please indicate whether the pattern of racketeering activity that the defendant agreed would be committed involved kidnapping, including attempted kidnapping, aiding and abetting kidnapping, or conspiracy to commit kidnapping in violation of California law. Part B is essentially the same question, but for New York law, as you can see here. C, and I mean, look at this. This is for count one, and they've got to go all the way down to HIJK. I don't even know what number that is in the alphabet, but they've got a lot of variables here, right? In regard to if you're finding the defendant guilty here, let's just go back up to A. If you have found the defendant guilty of count one, then please indicate whether the pattern of racketeering activity that the defendant agreed would be committed involved kidnapping, including attempted kidnapping. Oh, we already read that. Sorry, guys. Let's see. C. If you found the defendant guilty of count one, then please indicate whether the pattern of racketeering activity that the defendant agreed would be committed involved arson, attempted arson, including aiding and abetting arson, or conspiracy to commit arson in violation of California law. So this was something that, from my understanding, the prosecution brought up in their closing statements. Like they said something to the degree of, Diddy told Cassie that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car, and then Kid Cudi's car blew up just by coincidence, really laying it on thick for the jury there to connect the dots on their own, right? Because the court essentially said, hey, we're not able to prove this. I think they found a thumbprint or maybe some DNA of some woman on the car. But aside from that, they weren't able to actually say undoubtedly that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi's car. He just happened to tell Cassie that he was going to do that, and then his car just happened to blow up. So I thought this was pretty cool here. And, I went ahead and I had a little fun with this. Let me pull that up. I'll pull up my variation of the first count of racketeering conspiracy here. So you guys can do this as well. And I would love to engage you guys so that you guys can go on, have a little fun with this, check these boxes, fill this out yourself. I just basically took a screenshot of this and gave a check to the areas where I thought that, he was guilty and how they had proven it, or if they had proven it. So that's my vote for just count one. As you can see, there's way too many charges to go through this whole thing. But what I will say is that if you guys would like to engage in this, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little contest. Anybody that can go ahead, fill out these charges, and I'm going to give away 4 books to anybody that actually gets some of these charges right. So not necessarily what you guys, think, he's going to go down for, but how the jury is actually going to respond here. So you guys can email me at redpillrooster17@gmail.com. Send me your verdicts. And what I'm going to do for anybody that gets at least a portion of the verdicts right, you don't have to get the whole thing right, because I would be skeptical that anybody will. There's just way too many options on that. But I'm going to give away 4 books to people who actually get the primary charges right in terms of what they think that the jury is going to conclude. So if you get that right, you're going to essentially be one of the finalists to receive my book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist. Don't forget to take your red pills. Let's go ahead and let's keep it moving here. Wait. I want to go back to this Diddy document, or Diddy docket. Okay. Let me pull this back up, because you guys that was just this case here. Okay. So let me share this. I'm going to pull that back up. So that's USA versus Sean Combs, right? We've been talking about that for the last 8 weeks. Check this out. Civil cases. There are 97 civil cases found that include Diddy. Okay, now, something else I also thought was pretty interesting as a conspiracy theorist, but let's go ahead and check the closed cases. 17 cases found. 17. Interesting number to be closed here. For any of you that know about the 17 theory here, if you know, you know. If not, just go ahead and count the alphabet out to 17, and that'll point you in the right direction here. But 17 cases closed, and let's go ahead and search the open. 80 cases left. So this guy still has 80 civil cases left open for courts to deal with. So regardless of how this goes, it seems like Diddy is going to be dealing with courts for a long time. Okay, this really was, I want to say just the beginning, but based on the fact that there's already 17 closed, maybe he's like, let's say a quarter of the way through the beginning. So guy is going to be here for a long time. And I'm coming back over here. I want to check out some of your comments here. I see, how do I say that? Irma Bicker staff said, Comey's kid right. Interesting. Tell me more about what you mean by that, Irma. And then we have Sister Nobody. Did Comey's daughter throw this case? That's what people are asking. I mean, I think that they've done a very solid job of laying out the case in terms of, the different nuances that are required for the state to actually meet the charges. But like we read that one X post, children were never mentioned once, or minors. So, we'll just have to wait and see on that. But let's go ahead. Let me check my notes here. Oh, this is good. So while I was going through this Diddy document, or Diddy docket, the Diddy docket, I went back to the transcripts for one of the very first escorts, and I found this little excerpt from that it's basically a synopsis of what he stated while he was on the stand. And this stuck out to me. So maybe it'll be interesting for you guys. But in regard to, talking about the freak offs and all the details that went on there, I highlighted this area here where it says Combs often masked and issuing specific instructions on the sexual acts to perform. Very Interesting. So he was masked also, which is something that I hadn't caught up to this point, and it really threw me back to, did you guys see the movie Eyes Wide Shut? If not, no sweat. Let me stop that screen, but I'm going to share with you guys this little picture here because that movie absolutely is haunting in a very specific way. Uh, let's go ahead and pull up this. So here we are. This is some pictures from the movie Eyes Wide Shut, right? Starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. And, if you watch the movie, you know what this whole scene is about right here, right? Where everybody is masked and this party is taking place in a mansion and the masks are pretty creepy. Tom Cruise basically infiltrates this elite party and just makes his way around. He spoiler alert, turn it off if you guys want to go and watch this movie, but he gets discovered, right? They figure out that he's not supposed to be there, and some stuff goes down. But just look at these masks, and it makes me wonder, what kind of mask was Diddy wearing? This is Tom Cruise's mask. Of course, it's like the handsomest one, the golden faced boy here. But just gives you some insight, like, all right, let's not get kicked off a fluff tube over here. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is pretty eerie. And so I want to go to the cards and ask, was that stated as sort of a a throwback to Eyes Wide Shut? Is there something more to this? Were they essentially confirming that this is the type of activities that these so-called elites are involved in? Let's bring that up because I'm curious. What do you guys think? Oh, I love this. Kubrick, the director, was unalived because of this film. I would agree. He died sort of under what's the word I'm looking for? Mysterious circumstances after this film, and Sister Nobody has seen it. Oh yeah, I have the movie and watched it when it first came out. I'm sure Diddy is a fan. Yeah, I think so too. He wasn't wearing a mask. He was wearing a hijab. Am I saying that right? Hijab? I don't know. I don't know if he was wearing a hijab, but he was masked, apparently, according to what that escort had to say on the stand. So the question for the cards is, was that essentially confirming that this is the type of activities that these elites are involved in? Okay, and right out of the gate, we have the Six of Pentacles, followed by the King of Cups, followed by the Hermit. So right out of the gate, I'm going to say they're giving us a soft yes on this. They're giving us like a little clue, dropping a little coinage in our bucket here, giving us lowly folk here something to chew on and think about. The King of Cups, this guy is like a psychological genius. Okay. And that cloak hides many secrets. So yes, they're pointing to these types of people that, look like the King of Cups here, being involved in these types of activities, and the Hermit. So this is very quiet. This is very hush hush. This is something that they don't want getting out there. This is stuff that happens behind closed doors. I'm going to go with, yes, they were dropping a little hint to us that what we see in that movie, Eyes Wide Shut, is in fact the type of activities that are taking place at some of these elite parties behind closed doors. Let me continue on. Okay, we talked about the Diddy docket. Okay, so Diddy reportedly walked into the courthouse on the day of closing statements, as one reporter put it, walking on air. And she referred to him as Twinkle Toes. So the guy walked in there with the utmost confidence, feeling like, he's going to get off, feeling confident that in the 30-minute essentially case that his $20 million lawyers presented, that he felt like that was going to be sufficient. They didn't call a single witness. They stated a 30-minute case. So very interesting that that tells you that they had a lot of confidence in essentially the whole trial to say, all right, we don't need to do more than the bare minimum here. So one thing that I do want to bring up, though, that the prosecution, they held up this image here. Let me share the screen again. So they held up this image here for a long time. The image of Diddy dragging Cassie through the Intercontinental Hotel. And it sounds like the jurors were very engaged during the prosecution's closing statements. The prosecution laid out the criteria to meet the RICO charges, making it clear that in order to meet these charges, the defendant needed to operate as an enterprise, which is what we've been hearing, meaning that whether or not Diddy's employees / co-conspirators wanted to partake in illegal activity, they did. The prosecution highlighted KK as a co-conspirator, as we covered last week, as well as the security team, people supplying the drugs, and the cleanup crew after the freak-offs, that they enabled him to commit crimes. The jury was very attentive during the closing, and apparently Diddy's body language went into a slump. So let's go back to the cards here, because I'm curious, did Diddy lose his confidence? As the government was making their case or closing their case out in their closing statements, did he suddenly, lose that floating on air? Did he lose the twinkle toes effect? Was he suddenly nervous all of a sudden? Let's go ahead and just ask the cards. Was Diddy putting on an act for the jury, or did he genuinely lose his confidence as the prosecutor was closing? Okay, we've got Temperance reversed. We have the Hierophant reversed. And we have the Three of Cups reversed. So this guy basically felt like everything's wrong. Everything is upside down. He came in expecting one thing, and he got something totally different. The prosecution definitely made this guy nervous with, and these are major arcana here. So the Hierophant, again, reversed, and this guy, a cloak, lots of secrets here, right? So this tells me that Diddy came in feeling very confident, feeling like, I gave the government what they wanted in order for me to get off, and that they're going to take it easy on me. No, he suddenly realized that they were going hard on him. And then here we have the Three of Cups in reverse. So not a celebration, right? Turned upside down. Cups are spilling out. The 3 cups have been knocked over, and he thought he was going to be walking out on Monday a free man, but he's sitting here this weekend wondering if that's how it's really going to play out. But let's dig a little bit deeper, and let's look at some. Well, let's get a little speculative here, because the daughters of Diddy were also there in the courtroom, and they've been there apparently like almost the entire time from what I understand. But I just want to pull up because they've, been being photographed leaving the courtroom on a daily basis. Okay. And I'm pulling this up because I think it's very interesting what they're wearing. Look at this every day, black and white, black and white. Where was that other one? Here it is, black and white. And even this one looks like checkered floor, right? So this to me feels a lot like the checkered floor of Freemasonry. So let's go ahead. Let me share that little floor, that picture with you. I don't know how to do this as well as Meg, but I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. All right. So this is the floor in a Masonic lodge. Okay. You've got the black and white checkered floor. To me, the fact that his daughters were wearing black and white every day that they're leaving the courtroom is showing their alliance, right? Showing who they are aligned with. And it also actually made me wonder about that sketch where we see Diddy holding his hands sort of upside down like this. Let me share that with you. One second here, guys. All right, so this is the sketch I'm talking about, where you see him. The news tried to play it off like this was a heart, but we've seen him do the heart in the courtroom, and that's sketch artist as well. They've done a sketch of that as well, where he's doing this, right? But this to me is the Illuminati symbol, but with him doing it upside down, my question is, is he signaling that things are upside down, that things are headed in the wrong direction? So let's go back to the cards and let's ask, let's start with, is Diddy's daughter's clothing some type of semaphore? Are they sending a message or signal to someone through the clothing that they're wearing to the courthouse? Let's start there. Okay, right out of the gate, we have the Page of Cups, so a soft yes. We've got the Death card, and we've got the King of Pentacles. So a little bit of rumors and innuendo here, a little bit of sending a message, yes, getting a message out, getting a comm out, confirming alliances, and they're confirming the alliances with the bad guys, the dark side, right? This is who they are aligned with, and whether or not they know it or understand it to that full degree. But look at that. How much of this card is black and white, right? Just very interesting that this has come up black and white. And then we've got our King of Pentacles. Okay, so they're doing this for their father. They were instructed to do this by somebody on his team. So I'm going to go with yes, they are definitely sending a message out there through their clothing. I see that you guys are making some notes here. So they haven't been there every day. I apologize. I'm not sure if they have or they haven't, but I'll take your word for it there, Gigs. They have been there several days, and every time that they've left, it looks like they're leaving in black and white clothing, which is a very specific choice. So I want to ask one more question to the cards about Diddy's hand signal in that one photo that we just looked at, the sketch where we see him holding sort of the triangle upside down. Was Diddy sending a comm to his family or to other people that were there in the courtroom, letting them know, things aren't going well? Let's just ask, was Diddy sending a comm with that hand gesture that he made and that the sketch artist rendered there? Okay, we've got the Knight of Swords. We've got the Four of Cups. And we've got the Magician. So the Knight of Swords. This guy is, as you can see, he's charging into battle, right? But with this being upside down, things are not in his favor. He was essentially saying, you know, my hands are tied. I can't do anything here. Letting them know that things are not going well. And with this Four of Cups here, he was essentially giving them an offering, letting them know, you know, you can do something with this information or not. But I'm giving you the clue here that, you know, if you are going to do something, that you need to activate the magic. You need to maybe do the rituals. You need to do the things that we've been doing, you know, behind the closed doors. We've been talking a lot throughout the last 8 weeks in regards to, you know, some of these dark magic rituals that have been taking place behind closed doors and that sort of thing. And yes. And again, Gig says, and Yi showed up in all white. Yeah. I mean, I totally think that there are comms happening through people's clothing. They are sending messages. And I would say that Diddy was definitely sending a message as well to his inner circle that things are not going well and giving them the opportunity, take it or leave it, to do something that they actually have, you know, in their power to take control of, you know, maybe some of these black magic rituals or that sort of thing. Upside down triangle is tip of the spear. Trump, Diana, JFK Jr. all used the tip of the spear. True, they do use that, but when they do that, it's like that, right? When you see Trump doing that upside down, that to me is tip of the spear. This to me, and I'm going to clear that comment just so you can see this better here, but this to me is the upside down triangle. Tip of the spear, triangle. Small and nuanced, but I agree with that statement there. You know, it can definitely be easily confused, but I'm going to say that he was essentially sending a comm that things are not going well and sort of asking for help to the people that are there in his inner circle watching this. Let's ask another question to the cards. Is Diddy a Freemason? You know, is he tied to the Freemasons? Because again, a lot of that black and white symbology to me screams Freemasonry. So let's just ask, is Diddy a Freemason or tied to the Freemasons? Okay. Okay. We have the Two of Cups. We have the Five of Pentacles. And we have the the Three of Swords in reverse. So yes, definitely an agreement there. Definitely a bond. Things have not been going well. Okay. So whether he has been sort of outcast by that or has angered some people in that organization, you know, this is sort of him walking around on the outside, trying to find his way in, you know, looking for help, looking for hope, hoping to get inside, hoping that his message gets out to the people that he is going to realign with that faction. But there is some wounds from the past that have really done Diddy in, right? Some betrayals here. I mean, to have this card and then have it in reverse really indicates something really bad happened or went down between him and that relationship, and it's probably beyond recovery. So regardless of whatever kind of messages that he's sending out, they're trying to distance themselves from him. Okay. Let's switch to the defense here. Okay. So Mark Agnifilo, who was the prosecutor, excuse me, the defense attorney who gave the closing statements for Diddy, he called this a tale of two trials. He said one is based on evidence, and the defense's closing statements laid out that while Diddy was guilty of violence and domestic abuse, the state falls short of proving that Diddy is guilty of sex trafficking, racketeering, and intent to transport sex workers across state lines to engage in sex, as they were only paid for their time. They rested, saying that all the state has is baby oil. He stated that the prosecution has no witnesses, no evidence, just exhibits, which is very ironic, very interesting statement to make, because we pretty much watched 8 weeks of witness testimony, of evidence, and yes, exhibits. But he sort of mocked the court by saying, I don't know if he mocked the court or he mocked the DHS, but he said the streets are safer with all that baby oil HSI seized, just sort of really poking fun at it. And apparently a few of the jurors there, thought this was funny. It got a laugh, which definitely makes me wonder, where are some of these jurors standing? Yes, bar to mill the jurisdictions. I'm not sure what you mean there, Hermano. But yes, absolutely. Making a little bit of jokes out of how sort of ridiculous all of the claims are as he's framing it, stating that, the state doesn't have anything except for a bunch of baby oil. So one of the things that he also said that really caught my attention was that he said that this is a fake trial. He said this is a fake trial. Okay, so I'm curious, what did he mean by that? What did Mark Agnifilo mean when he said this is a fake trial? Was there more to that statement than meets the eye? Was this a show trial for the public, or are we watching a movie, as Q says? Yeah, let's go ahead and ask, what did Mark Agnifilo mean when he said that this is a fake trial? Was this just a show trial for the public? Okay, we got the King of Pentacles. We've got the Moon upside down. And we've got the Page of Wands. So the trial has integrity to it. Okay. It's an abundance of evidence. There's so much here. He's trying to discredit something. It's like saying, this guy's actually poor, right? When he very clearly has a lot of abundance and riches. So he was simply trying to discredit the fact that, this trial has laid out everything, has brought a lot of evidence. And rather than giving credence and credit to all of the witness testimony, he's essentially saying, no, this is just a fake trial. This is a fake king, not a real king, right? And I think deep down, he knows that his case is kind of dead in the water, right? He didn't have a whole lot to go on because they never brought up any witnesses. They never really presented any testimony themselves as the defense that gave him any legs to stand on. So he's sort of walking into the courtroom saying, you know, all of this is hearsay. And the Page of Wands, you know, he's just not in reverse. He's not going to get very far. It's going nowhere. People didn't buy it. They don't think it's a fake trial. They didn't believe that statement. So I'm going to say that there's not really more than meets the eye there, other than, you know, a lawyer trying to wriggle his way out of a court case that, in the public's view, he's lost. Right? All the statements that are, you know, the comments that I'm coming across on X, not all of them. You've got a few people out there that think that Diddy's, you know, innocent, so to speak. They agree that he was abusive, but essentially that the state didn't meet the requirement to convict him. Something else that I came across here today that I thought was just kind of hysterical. Let's go ahead and pull this up. I think you guys will enjoy this, at least for a laugh. So apparently Vegas is taking odds on the Diddy trial. So if you guys are gambling men and women out there, you can go over to betus.com and place your bets. Okay, so as you can see here, what this means, I had to kind of look this up because I don't gamble in this way by any means. So I'm like, wait, what is the money line? What does this mean? But essentially, if you see this like plus 250, plus 300, plus 400, that means this is the underdog. So you place $100 and you would win $400 if the question is, how many years will Diddy serve for the charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution altogether, right? So $100, if you bet $100, you will win $400 if he is convicted to serve 6 to 10 years. This is actually the sort of the front runner here. So $125 bet will get you $100. So they're basically, Vegas is betting that Diddy's going to serve 11 to 15 years for this. That's kind of crazy, right? I'm really curious about that. I mean, you guys tell me what you guys think about this. I mean, it's kind of silly to even think that people are betting on this, but people will gamble over anything. I mean, if you guys were going to place a bet here, where would you place it? 11 to 15 years, life sentence. Down here, 250 will get you $100 will get you 250 if he doesn't serve any time. And then we have the life sentence here. You'll get $1,000 if you bet $100 and he gets a life sentence. I don't think he's going to get a life sentence. Certainly, you know, it's kind of encouraging, so to speak, that Vegas thinks that he's going to get 11 to 15 years. And, you know, again, $125 bet will get you $100 if you decided to take that bet. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. And I'm also curious. Okay, I see Sean Walker says 20 to life. Let's see what you'll get, Sean, if you put that one in. So $800, if you feel confident about that one, you know, you put down 100, you win $800 over here on betus.com. But what I'm really curious about is, you know, is this like some sort of psyop? Are the Vegas betting odds designed to mislead us, or are they authentic odds based on the trial? Hermano Branco said he gets off. You know, I hate to say it, but it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, very curious to ask the cards. Are the Vegas betting odds designed to mislead us, or are they authentic odds based on the trial? Ooh, we got the 10 of Swords. We've got the King of Swords. and we've got the Knight of Swords. Okay. So Vegas thinks he's dead. Vegas thinks he's a dead man. Right? This is surrender. They're saying this guy is so pinned down, he's got nowhere to go. No chance. No chance. And that there's a lot of integrity to this case, to this trial. There's a lot of integrity to the betting odds. It's not a inauthentic. They're not trying to trick us. This is what Vegas truly thinks. They think Diddy is going to get 11 to 15, and that the Knight of Swords, this is basically saying, like, the fight's over. This guy's charging into battle with nothing. He's got nowhere to go. He's by himself. And yes, he probably will appeal. I agree. Cindy Sims says 10 to 15. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought, wow, that is very curious, very interesting. Let's see. Let's go ahead and ask the jury before I show you guys one more video here today. Actually, no, I'm going to show you a couple of videos here left. Give me a second. Let me pull this up because this I thought was very interesting. So apparently there is a documentary out there called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy. Okay, and I want you guys to take a good look at this picture here with this eye open and this eye covered. Okay, because I'm going to touch on that in a moment with another video here, but let's go ahead and watch this trailer really quick. It's 1 minute and 28 seconds.
Sean Combs is a monster.
I want to speak about this now because I've witnessed everything.
I think Sean Combs can get away with anything.
I've known Sean since he was 4 years old. That's my little bro.
He already knew what he wanted.
I can be your manager. Just give me a chance.
I went to a lot of puffy parties. These were the parties that you needed exclusive access to get into.
He thought that if people fear him, they respect him.
Honestly, I didn't want to be around him unless there was cameras.
Nobody's shooting me. Nobody's shooting me. Nobody's shooting me.
When Puff was around, he was like, uh-oh, get it together or this could be over.
You got me acting crazy in front of all these people.
Something is not right with this.
I've been with Sean for quite a while, and I've captured a lot of moments. Anytime the studio or any rooms is red, it's making love and sex. Some of the ones who went in the room, for sure, they were underage.
They said they could ship me off and sell me to anyone.
How did this superstar music mogul become an alleged monster?
And I can show you how we have fun and stay out of jail, too.
Wow. I hadn't seen that. Apparently that came out in January, so I'm definitely going to check that out. Yeah, I think it's so damning what that trailer ends with, where he says, I'm going to show you how to have fun and stay out of jail. Like, the guy knows he's committing crimes. He knows it. And he's kind of bragging about it. So, and yes, Nutrispire, am I pronouncing that right? Yes. I am curious about the jurors. Have you looked into them with the cards? Not yet. We're about to. But I wanted to share that little video there with you, and the picture that is on the the cover of that movie, where we saw Diddy with one eye open and the other eye had a pair of sunglasses over them, and I'll show you why in a moment. But yes, I am pissed as well, Sister Nobody, that they didn't bring in the children. Yes, I think everybody would agree with you on that. But let's take a look at the jurors. They've had all weekend to think about this. They've had all weekend to consider the evidence. I expect that tomorrow, once they go into deliberations, this is going to happen pretty quickly. I think that if it turns out to last a long time, that's going to fare very well for Puff. I think if it's a quick deliberation, they're going to come back and it's going to be essentially guilty on all counts. If it's a long deliberation, typically you can say, okay, well, the jury isn't agreeing, right? They're in there, they're arguing with each other, they're trying to come to a conclusion. So if it turns out to be a long deliberation, hours or possibly even days, I think we're going to see either a hung jury or a mixture of guilty and not guilty. But let's go ahead. Let's ask a few questions for the cards about the jury. Let's start with which way is the jury leaning after having the weekend to sit on things and consider all the evidence and witness testimony? Okay, we got the Ace of Cups. We got the Hermit again. And we have the Strength card in reverse. So the jury sees all the evidence, sees the validity to it. It's overwhelming for them in terms of everything that was presented to not convict him. Okay, so leaning towards conviction with the Hermit card placed next to it. This is very interesting. I wonder if, they are sort of as a whole going into a quiet place this weekend, if they've been, quietly just deliberating this themselves already in order to come to a truly integral answer here, really trying to find the truth or the right decision, whether that's guilty or not guilty. And the Strength card reversed. They're not feeling very strong. Okay, so I think that we could see, once they go behind closed doors and then they're there with everybody, there's going to be a lot of back and forth influence, right? There's going to be people sort of on the fence about certain charges or certain proofs, and they're going to have to figure it out amongst them, right? This is part of the reason why we have 12 jurors, and that you've got to have a unanimous decision, which might be difficult for them to come to. You've got a lot of charges. You've got a lot of different variables. You've got a lot of different perspectives there in that jury room where, people from different walks of life, from men and women to younger and older to industries that they worked in, or, whether they work in Hollywood or they were actors or massage therapists, or there's a scientist there, there's a deli meat worker there, right? And what is their personal perspective on, these witnesses like Cassie and Jane Doe essentially saying, yeah, I wanted to be around him. I loved him. How much does that weigh on the jury's mind in terms of them really considering whether or not that they were coerced into some of these acts? I think undoubtedly the prosecution has painted the picture, laid the case that, whether or not that they agreed to take part in these freak offs, these hotel nights, whether or not that they agree with, did they want to get into this in the first place? But then did it go too far when Diddy essentially said, get back in there and get back to work type of thing? It only has to be one time, right? I think the prosecution did a good job of laying that out. And maybe that'll be part of the discussion amongst themselves, right? If at any point in time, somebody you essentially forced, coerced, bribed, or, defrauded somebody into doing something, that meets the requirement. It doesn't matter if, they said that they wanted to do it in the beginning, and then, you know, they're 2 or 3 guys deep, and then they're like, all right, I don't really want to do this anymore. And you still sort of pressured them, coerced them to continue doing it. That meets the requirement. So I think that the jury is going to definitely have their hands full in terms of the long conversation that's going to take place here. I don't think that it's, you know, the 12 jurors are not going to show up into the room all with the same perspective tomorrow. So they're going to be working it out. So we'll have to see. Do you guys have any other questions for the jury? I'm trying to think. I definitely had another question for the jury. Let's ask, is the jury going to reach a timely decision? Are we going to see a decision tomorrow? Or is this something that could potentially extend for days in terms of them going behind closed doors and coming to a conclusion? Let's go ahead and ask that. Is the jury going to come to a conclusion tomorrow? Okay. We have the 3 of Swords reversed. We've got the 5 of Wands. And we have the Star. Interesting. So it's going to be a painful process, is what I'm getting. They're going to be rehashing what they said, timelines, who did what, you know, how culpable are some of Diddy's quote unquote co-conspirators involved, or how culpable are they in this whole scenario? And this 5 of Wands really tells me there's going to be a debate. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of jousting for position here. We might, you know, hear a story. We're not going to know tomorrow, but I'm sure that we'll hear some stories, you know, down the road in the future of what it was like to be a jury member on this trial. And from this card, I'm getting that there's probably going to be the majority of people are going to come in feeling guilty. And there's going to be 3, I want to say 3, maybe 5. So you might have 7 people that are saying guilty, and 5 are sort of going to be out there. 3 to 5 are going to be out there fighting for not guilty. And so there's going to be a lot of back and forth on that. And then we have the Star. So sort of an otherworldly entity here. They're going to be really, you know, trying to drop the information, you know, change each other's minds. As you can see with the Star, she's pouring 2 jars, I'll say, of water. One is going into the water. The other one is going onto the land. And this to me tells me that they are going to be, again, trying to share the information with each other from what they have each individually seen throughout this process, so that they can really reach a verdict of integrity. So I think, with this being the 17th card, this could take 17 hours, potentially. I think this is going to take some time to really hash out. We'll just have to wait and see. But yes, that sums up what I wanted to cover here today in the Diddy trial. But I did have one more thing that I wanted to share with you guys, because it's an incredible video. it ties into everything that I was talking about here today in terms of the black and white clothing that Diddy's daughters are wearing, and the one eye symbolism that we saw there on the cover of that movie, the documentary that we just took a look at. So I want to share a brief segment of this video. I'm certainly not going to play it for very long, but this video, you can find it on my Rumble, and it's absolutely incredible. So it's 5 hours and 18 minutes. Brace yourselves, right? But what this guy, Eltion Childs, does, you can see him here in the window. So this guy was the winner of The Voice in Australia, okay, many years ago. So this guy was the winner of The Voice. He comes out in this video and basically plainly states, this is the most important video I've ever made. I'm risking my life by posting this video, and lays out how he essentially was recruited into the Illuminati, the Freemasons, after he became a winner of The Voice. And he goes into great detail about all the things he saw. He uses a lot of text, the Freemason text. He really goes through the lines in the text that lay out the components of this being a secret organization. And why I think it's pertinent and relevant for you guys to check out in your own time is because you're going to see all of the celebrities and politicians who are doing the same hand gestures, the same symbols, the same, they are sending all the same signals. So I'm going to start this here, and I've chosen a very particular point to show you because it starts a little bit on what some of the symbology that's on our money. It goes into a brief JFK speech, and then starts to show you some of the signs and symbols that the Masons use. Let's give it a watch.
This is from a 1960 copy of the New Age magazine, an official organ of the Supreme Council of 33rd Degrees. No higher authority in the United States to speak of the relationship between Freemasonry and the US $1 bill. Masonic symbolism in a $1 bill. Look at them all. 13 leaves, 13 bars, 13 feathers, so on and so forth. And of course, this, the Masonic all-seeing eye, located in the pyramid. So you think this is a conspiracy theory or just a plain conspiracy? Well, he's JFK, yes, a Freemason, but one who had enough when he wanted to print money disassociated from the Masonic central banks, just like Abraham Lincoln, and he paid the price for it as well. Listen to the speech we never hear about in school. More proof that they control the education system here and everywhere. Please just have a quick listen to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
So here it starts to go into all the celebrities, and just a little bit of that symbolism. There are many ways that they do this. So you've got the one eye, lots of different ways that they exemplify the one eye. Some of them are creative. Some of them just with the circle over their eye with this stands for 666 when you do that. Jared Leto, person people have a lot of questions about if you have paid attention to him at all. Kate Blanchett. And you'll notice a lot of these people also have children that have been transitioned. So lots of people in Hollywood who have decided their children are not the gender that they were born. And it's pretty haunting. So he's doing the Master of the Second Veil there. When you see them doing this, it's called the Hidden Hand. This is the Code of Silence. And this is some images there from the book. There's Alec Baldwin. There's the Hidden Hand. R. Kelly, he's got a great reputation. Woody. And the square and compass there. So this video will give you guys a tremendous insight as to how Hollywood essentially entraps all these people. They get them tied into this type of activity. This is essentially a message to the public, to the other people that know what this means, to the other club members, so to speak, that, hey, I'm part of the club too. So you saw Robin Williams there. Definitely some conspiracy theories around him and him wanting to get out of this. And I mean, guys, it's 5 hours of this. It's hundreds and hundreds. There's Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi. It's hundreds and hundreds of photos, images, excerpts from Freemason books. There's Beyonce. Always doing the same stuff. This isn't just like the cool thing to do. They're doing this because they're instructed to. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because I think it's incredibly poignant. It's definitely worth your time to check this out. Put it on, double speed if you have to. And if you guys are anybody out there who loves a celebrity, good chance you're going to see them in here. Whether they're an athlete or a politician or a musician or an actor, you're going to find almost everybody in here. And I was trying to rewatch this quickly to see if I could find one of Diddy in here. And I had only made it through about an hour and 45 minutes when I was going back through. So I wasn't able to pull that up, but I won't be surprised if he's in here somewhere. So with that, I am going to bid you all adieu, and I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment. And let me get the creepy music to stop playing there in the background. But I want to again, Sister Nobody, I don't love the celebrities either. I think we all, had a day or two where there was somebody out there that we just thought was the greatest actor or musician. And God, they're just a saint. They must have done, just something incredible in order to get into the position that they're in. And turns out they have done some incredible things, some incredibly heinous and crazy things. So, yes, M. Carnahan, the name of that video, if you go over to Rumble, is, hold on, let me escape that there, is Must Watch. Eltion Childs, and Eltion is spelled Altyan. Eltion Childs reveals the truth behind Freemasonry and the Illuminati. So check out that video. It's phenomenal. And I do want to thank all of you for going on this journey with us over the last 8 weeks. I will talk to Meg when she gets back to see if we're going to do sort of a icing on the cake here deal, a post verdict. I don't think that we will be live tomorrow. I was trying to get in touch with Meg, but she is so far remote that it's just, I can't get a hold of her right now. So I'm happy for her. I hope that they are having a phenomenal time. I'm sure that her and Jans have just had a great time disconnecting. We all need to disconnect every once in a while. But thank you all for, joining us on this journey of analyzing the Diddy trial through astrology and tarot and conspiracies. I appreciate you guys. This community is awesome, really phenomenal. It's wonderful to have such an audience to come out here and talk to and connect with, because let's face it, we can't all we can't have these conversations every day with just anybody, right? It takes a particular type of person with a very particular kind of openness to these types of discussions to be able to have it. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here. I look forward to speaking with you all again, and we'll keep you posted on what we're going to do in terms of having maybe a final wrap up on after the verdict comes out. But please remember to check out our work over on YouTube, Rumble, and X under the Meg Moonbeam and Redpill Rooster channels. And if you haven't checked it out already, go ahead and check out my book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist. Don't forget to take your red pills. It's available on Amazon. The paperback is out. The reviews have been great. I'm so pleased to see that more reviews have come in since I've told people, hey, I had some issues getting reviews over here. Some people were telling me that they couldn't leave a review. So I'm glad that we're not being blackballed over here. But again, this is a roadmap for the person whose mind is already started to open, right? The doors opened a little bit, and now they just maybe need a little bit of assistance in connecting some of these dots here. Hopefully we can bring some more of our brothers and sisters into the fold here and make that final push for a full disclosure where we can all live and relish in the truth. Thank you all again. I love you guys. Look forward to our next meeting, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.